Right, so I'm going to turn your mics off now, and I'll hear from you later. Share the screen, so you should now be able to see some slides. Hopefully, so I'll get going. There we go. So the talk tonight is about a typical Harley-Davidson tour with us, Tour1. I'm going to do it in 3 parts. Number 1, introduction and the types of tours that we run. Number 2, what a typical tour is like. Then we're going to have a break for some questions. And then part 3, some general tour information about some things that I recommend on tours. So some of you have met me before. I've been up and talked to you before. I've been up and talked to you about my book and my trip around America. And of course, I've been to Wake the Lakes, which I thoroughly enjoyed. So I am clearly an avid motorcyclist. I've been riding since I was 17. I started off on a Honda C90. Then I got a 350cc Yamaha 2-stroke, and then a GT 750 Suzuki, otherwise known as a Kettle. I haven't got any of those bikes anymore. I really regret selling any of them. I'd love to have them now. But like quite a lot of young people, I then got married, had kids, and of course I had to sell my bike and get a more sensible car. I bought my first Harley in 2006. And it sort of started a love affair with motorcycling again, and particularly with riding Harley-Davidsons. A few years later, in 2010, I retired from doing proper work. This is proper work, but for my main career, I used to work in construction project management. And for I gave myself a retirement present, which was riding around America for 4.5 months. I did a 21,000-mile ride. I shipped my only Harley at the time, my Road King, shipped it over to New York in an aeroplane and just started riding around America. And as you know, some of you know, I then wrote a book about that, which was a lot of fun. So I've ridden in 28 different countries and 29 different states in America. So I can guess you say that I like motorcycling a bit. In about 2012 or 13, I did a couple of long rides through Europe with some mates, and they said, "Gary, you're retired. Can you work out the route that we can take?" I think we were going to Rome at the time for the Hog Rally. They said, "Can you work out a route and book some hotels because you've got the time to do it?" So I love doing that sort of thing. Yeah, I said, "Yeah, I'll do that." And on that trip, they said, "Hey, Gary, you're quite good at that. How did you find all of these great roads and these good hotels?" And as a joke, they said to me, "You should do this as a job, Gary." And I went, "No, I'm not going to do that as a job." Then I actually thought about it. I thought, actually, this is quite a good idea. So I explored it a bit. And in 2014, I set up Tour1. I designed 3 tours, created a website, and thought, well, I'll have a go at this. And I was awarded Authorised Tour Operator status by Harley-Davidson in the first year. So that means I'm approved by them. I had to meet certain standards of quality and had to have certain processes in place. And I invited Marge from Hog on my second tour, and she said, "Yep, you're good enough. You can be an Authorised Tour Operator," and I haven't looked back since. So that first year we went to Saint-Tropez. A few of you will recognise this bar at the front of the port in Saint-Tropez. My second tour was to Beograd in Croatia for the Harley Rally in 2014. And we also went to Fakasi that year, an amazing rally for the European Bike Week. I learned a little bit about improving things over the next couple of years, especially our internal systems. And I'll tell you a bit about some of the processes we use a bit later. So I was full of enthusiasm, just loved doing it. And since then, we've broadened out the types of tours that we do. Today, I still run the business and I lead some of the tours myself. And I've got a couple of other tour leaders that we use as well, and Gordon is one of them. You know, he runs the Adriatic Adventure Tour, the one that I'm going to talk to you about tonight. We have 3 different types of tours. We run about 8 tours a year now, plus 1 or 2 private tours, and they range from 4 to 14 days. And they're graded in these 3 different types of tours, and we just call them easy, moderate, and challenging. The easy riding tours, we hope that you've been riding for about a year. You're comfortable with riding in a group, and just as a guide, you're comfortable riding at 70 miles an hour on a motorway. Not that we really ride much motorway, but that's just a guide as to what sort of speed we might travel at. We don't really travel at those sort of speeds, but it's just to help you understand. And the types of easy riding tours that we do, they're all 4 days. They tend to start in Folkestone, and they just hop across the channel to France, Luxembourg, or Belgium. They don't go very far. You can't do that much in 4 days. And we also start one tour from Portsmouth, and we go across to Normandy. We get the ferry to Cherbourg, and I'll tell you a little bit about that in a minute. So those easy riding tours, they're really they're really a taster for riding abroad. If you've never done it before, it gives anybody an opportunity just to see what it's like. We use the tunnel or a ferry. So if somebody has never loaded their bike on the Channel Tunnel or a ferry before, they can learn how to do that. We have plenty of stops here. We don't really ride long distances each day. They tend to be going to see things. And an example of that is our World War I battlefields tour, where we go see the trenches, memorials and battlefields from the 1914 to 1918 war. We do another D-Day landings tour as well. This is Omaha Beach on D-Day, and we go and visit all 5 of the landings beaches. We go and see Pegasus Bridge, St. Mary Glees, and of course the American Cemetery. And this photo looking down on Omaha Beach, comparing what it was on D-Day to now, that picture was taken from just next to the American Cemetery. Another 4-day tour that we do, we call Bubbles and Chocolate. This is probably my most fun tour of the year because it's ladies only and me. The Bubbles part is because we might just drink some champagne or Prosecco on the tour. And the chocolate is, well, we might just visit a chocolate factory and imbibe into some lovely Belgian or French chocolate. They're a lot of fun. It's great fun riding with a group of ladies. They seem to support themselves much more than men do. Been quite eye-opening for me, and I absolutely love it. The moderate tours that we do, we expect that riders will have had about 4 years of riding experience and probably already ridden on the right side of the road in mainland Europe before. They've got to be very comfortable riding in a group and confident riding in the wet. And we tend to go a little bit faster on those tours. And these are all 6-day. Generally, they start from Folkestone as well, and we go a little bit further afield. You can do that. We might go into southern Germany or eastern France or somewhere like that because being 6 days, we can afford to go a little bit further. So we call these our short adventure tours. They're always in Europe, and we ride all day on great roads. And a typical example of this is the Black Forest Tour. I think there's a few photos coming up of a few of the roads that we've ridden on. We ride fantastic roads in the forest. We ride the B500. We go to the REM Old Grand Prix motor racing circuit. We go into the Vosges Mountains. We go and see Bastogne, where the Battle of the Bulge was fought. So it's a good, interesting mix of things to do in a wonderful place to ride. The next one that we do is the Castles and Chateau Tour, and these pictures of places that you're looking at are where we go. It's a great combination of roads and wonderful places to stay, mainly riding in the Ardennes. We ride alongside some amazing rivers, and it's a little bit of luxury. It's a great tour. The final category of tours that we call challenging. You've probably been, these are the much more experienced riders go on these. You've probably been riding large motorcycles for about 5 years. You're very easily capable of keeping a good pace within a group. We ride lots of mountains, and we definitely ride in the rain because we got places to get to that night. So these are about 10 or 14 days. Again, they tend to run from either Folkestone or from Munich. Munich's quite handy because, as Gordon was saying earlier in the brief chat we had, some people would get the ferry from Hull to Rotterdam and then right down to Munich and meet us there to start. And these tours can go all over Europe, and I'll show you some of the places we go to shortly. Quite a few of the tours go to the Alps. There are some wonderful riding roads in the Alps, and of course we go down to the Pyrenees as well. So these are challenging riding tours. They're really what we call long adventure tours, and often, as you can see from the pictures, they're in the mountains. That's Stelvio Pass. That I think that's Grossglockner Pass. That's forgotten the name of it, on the border between Italy and Switzerland. A wonderful road, and you can see why we only really, it's probably better if it's only experienced riders who come on these sorts of tours because of the sorts of roads that we go on. These are some of the best riding roads in Europe in really scenic locations. That's St. Gothard Pass in Switzerland. And we ride all day, and because we ride all day over 10 to 14 days, we also have a rest day or two. That photo's in Switzerland, and we tend to do slightly longer distances all day, each day. Sorry, one of the tours that we do is called Altitudes with Attitude. That's all about the riding. That's the best roads in the Alps. We'd ride about 35 mountain passes, including Stelvio, Grossglockner Pass, St. Bernard Pass. It's the mother of all tours, really. And then the other one that I'm going to mainly focus on tonight and tell you a bit more detail about is the one that Gordon leads, is the Adriatic Adventure Tour. We also go to hog rally tours. We do tours to hog rallies. They are 9 days, so that's 6 days of riding to get there, 3 days at the rally, and then your bike is then brought back to the UK on a truck. And so this is a one-way tour, and you fly back on the Sunday, ready to be back at work in normal times, obviously, on the Monday morning. That means that long slog of riding home after a rally, we don't really need to do. All the fun is getting out to a rally and experiencing it. Nobody really likes the ride back so much. So that's why they've been particularly successful, because we bring the bikes back on a truck. And we normally have 25, 26 bikes going to those on those tours, and we split into 2 groups. So what is a typical tour like? So here's some photos and maps of a typical tour operated by us, and I'm talking tonight about our Adriatic Adventure Tour. It's 12 days, and it goes starts and finishes in Munich, and this is the route that we take. And so people can either ride on their own to get to Munich. Some people fly in from abroad and rent a motorcycle there, or you can ride with us to get to Munich. Ride with Tour1, the tour leader, and the back marker, because we've got a ride there as well. So you can ride with us and ride back with us afterwards. The tour goes through Germany, Austria, Italy, Slovenia, and Croatia on the route that you can show. And it's a clockwise route, and as you can see, we have a ferry across the Adriatic. So each day, I'm going to just quickly tell you about. This is day 1, So we all assemble in Munich on day one in the late afternoon, and we stay at a lovely 4-star hotel in the middle of Munich. And the important thing about that is it's got a very good, secure underground car park. And we go and eat. We just walk to Marienplatz, which is the central square in Munich. This is it here. And that rather good-looking church in the bottom left-hand corner, we normally go and eat somewhere near there. We just walk to that. It's nice and easy to get to. Day two, we ride from Munich to Lienz in Austria. It's about 192 miles. And the good thing about this is it crosses the Alps. That's a very simple ellipse to show roughly where the Alps are. And so as you can see, this tour goes through the Alps twice. The good thing about this first day is the tour goes across Grossglockner Pass, which is one of, if there's ever any poll about what are the best riding roads in the world, Grossglockner is normally up there. It's normally in the top 10 somewhere. It's a fabulous road. And we also ride a road called the Gaulberg Saddle. I'll show you a picture of that in a minute. So this is getting up to Grossglockner Pass. And for those of you who've ridden it, you'll know what I'm talking about. Grossglockner is like a racetrack on steroids in the mountains. It's a wonderful surface road. It's got fantastic bends, as you can see. It's a glorious road to ride. And this is the view from a cafe where we have our morning coffee break. Now, I don't know about you, but I think this must be one of the best views anywhere in the world from a cafe. It's at the very top on a road called the Edelweiss Splits. This is the Gaulberg Saddle. So we ride up through this valley that you can see here. It's very steep. It has about 15 sharp hairpin bends connected by some very straight, steep sections of road, which we can really open up our Harleys on to their best of acceleration between the bends. This road is a lot of fun. And it's just before we get to the hotel, so it's a great way to end the day. Day three, we ride about 184 miles from Lienz to Selci. Selci is on the Croatian coast, so we ride through Italy, Slovenia, and Croatia to get there. And we call this day From Mountains to the Sea because we're up in the Alps and then we end the day by the sea. And we get our first view of the Adriatic. There is that's up in the Italian that's the Austrian Alps, I think. And then we cross the border into Italy. Don't know who this guy is with his hands in his pockets, but he's enjoying the view. And this is the first view we get of the Adriatic. You can just about see the sea behind the bikes, and we're high up on a cliff here looking down at the boats and the sea below. This is in Trieste, where we stop and have lunch. We go to different places, but we've been to, in the far right-hand corner of the square, you can see somewhere with a black canopy. We've eaten in there before. It's quite an impressive place to have lunch. Day four, we go from Selci to Split. It's about 200 miles. And if I had to vote for my favorite road anywhere in the world, this road here, about the first 70 miles of it would certainly be one of the contenders. This is a road that hugs the ocean, so it follows the line of the rocks. It twists up and down. It's a wonderful road surface, not too much traffic, and you've got the beautiful azure blue of the Adriatic to your right-hand side. It is a stunning road. Here's a couple of pictures of it. That's quite typical. So you've got a two-lane road right next to the sea, and it is really close to the sea. The Adriatic has beautiful clear water with views like this. How could you not like riding a road like that? It's a bit like Highway 1 in America, but much better. This is our morning coffee stop. Great place to park the bikes, and the cafe is just on the left, to the left of that red street glide. So it's a great view, great place to stop and have coffee. This is a little fishing village called Modric. The villages and the coastline is absolutely stunning in Croatia. And look at that road. I defy anybody to not enjoy riding a road like that. So we get down to Split, and day 5 we have a rest day, and it's at the end of that day that we catch the overnight ferry to Italy. So we do a bit of tourism in Split before getting on the ferry and arriving there at 7 o'clock the next morning. Of course, because it's overnight, everybody gets a cabin, and we grab something to eat maybe, and a few beers on the boat before retiring to our cabins. So this is the centre of Split. The harbour where the boat leaves from is just on the right-hand side, and this is what's called the Diocletian's Palace with its tower. It was built a few centuries ago, and we're going to have a look around that on the day off if you want to. There's that tower from inside, and quite a lot of it is turned into a sort of a market, so you can buy a few touristy type things. It gets quite busy, but it's good fun to have a look around. This is queuing up for passport control on the ferry. I would say that this is probably the most chaotic but great fun ferry anywhere that I've travelled on. It's, first of all, it's organised by Italians. I hope there's nobody Italian here, but it's organised by Italians and operated in Croatia, and it's completely nuts. It's this is our group last year, just waiting to get onto or queuing up for passport control. And you'll know if you've travelled on a ferry in the UK, everybody is put in lanes. You queue up in lanes and you go onto the boat. You're released in lanes. Well, that doesn't happen here. It's pretty much a free for all, and but it seems to work, and it's great fun. This is getting off the boat the next morning, just about to start to ride. Oh, that's Gordon in that picture. And so we're now in Italy on day 6, and we ride about 148 miles to a place called Cortona, which was a new location for us, meant to be this year. We've changed the hotel this year. So we're in Italy all day, and we go to Assisi for lunch, where you'll have heard obviously of St. Francis of Assisi, and we go and see the basilica, the cathedral where he's laid to rest. This is early in the morning. This is the basilica at Assisi. It's a wonderful 3-level church. It's absolutely amazing inside. I don't particularly like churches, but I certainly enjoyed looking around this one. And this view of the basilica through this window, this is actually taken from where we have lunch. So we're sitting at our lunch table to look at that view. That's pretty cool. People make good friends on some of these tours, and some people will end up being friends for life. And of course, we have a few beers at the end of each day. That's sort of obvious. Day 7 is a much shorter riding day of 92 miles because we're going just to Florence. And in Florence, we've got something to do, the beautiful city of Florence. But on the way, we go through Siena. You can maybe just about see it on the route there. So this has got amazing roads to ride. And we get to Florence at about midday. We're going to have lunch, and then we go on a walking tour of Florence in the afternoon to see some of the art and architecture of that stunning city. But first of all, this is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. This is the town square in Siena. It's absolutely amazing, and we normally go and have our morning coffee in the cafe on the far right-hand corner. Some of you will know Siena for this. They have a crazy horse race around this square 2 times a year. It's a local horse race where the local regions race against each other, and as you can see, it pulls in quite a crowd. You can see here, you see those arched windows there? That's those arched windows there on the left-hand side. So the horses actually go round this square. When we get to, this is Florence, a beautiful, beautiful city in Tuscany. This is the, forgotten the name of the bridge, Ponte something. And this is the walking tour. This is when we started last year. There's Gordon. And the funny thing about this, I didn't recognize this. I didn't realize at the time that this guy here on the end, we have no idea who he is. It was a classic piece of photo bombing that he just joined the end of joined in our picture. So we walk around Florence. It's not very big around the center. So we go and see some of the statues, and this is the main cathedral in the center of Florence. And of course, we take the opportunity to go and see Michelangelo's statue of David. This absolutely blew me away the first time I saw it. When you go in there and you walk in there, it's amazing how big it is. First of all, I didn't realize how big it was, and how somebody can carve that out of a single piece of marble is absolutely astounding. Of course, lots of people take photos of this, and one lady in particular, she must have had a reason for taking this photo. She wasn't in our group, but it made us all laugh, and so we share that picture now occasionally. So on day 8, we ride about 162 miles, and we go up to Venice. So it's very, very good riding in the morning, and we stay just outside of Venice. You can't actually park any motorcycles in hotels in Venice because, well, there are no roads. So we stay just outside in a place called Mestre. And we jump on the train to get into central Venice. It's about a 10-minute journey. When we get there in the afternoon, we all jump on the train, and then I give everybody a quick walking tour of Venice just so that everybody can orientate themselves, because the following day, we've got a day off in Venice to go and see the sights. So I show everybody how to use the water buses and how to get around and where all of the main sites are in Venice. And then in the evening, we have dinner in a traditional canal side restaurant. So this is riding that day. I think that's riding just after Florence, up in the hills. This is where we stop for coffee in a wonderful little town square. And then the next day, as I said, people have got a rest day, and most people just go and wander around Venice to see Rialto Bridge and St. Mark's Square, etc. So here's a few photos of that. So there's St. Mark's Square and the tower, the Bridge of Sighs over the canal, the Rialto Bridge over the Grand Canal, and those yellow buildings on the right, they're the water bus stations. And I think there's just a water bus about to come around. They're very easy to use. They're called Valpolettas, and it's the best way of getting around Venice very cheaply. There's the main basilica in St. Mark's Square. So it's a cool day just to chill for a bit and do a bit of walking. On day 10, we ride 204 miles. We ride back into the mountains and into the Alps. And this year we're going to introduce a new road, St. Baldo Pass, as we climb up into the mountains, and we go and see a wonderful lake. And if we have time, we go and see Bolzano Harley-Davidson. This is a big waterfall that we stop at en route. I love the Dolomites. They're my favourite part of the Alps, with the craggy peaks. They stand out very well. It's a beautiful part of the mountains. This is Lake Kera, stunning place. The colour of that water and the pine trees behind. Pine trees? Whatever sort of trees they are, and the peaks of the mountains behind. It's a wonderful place. Some bikers waving for their photo on the route. And this is St. Baldo Pass. We were going to ride this for the first time and include it this year, but we'll have to wait till next year. As you can see, the road is very, very steep. And so climbing up this, and we ride it uphill, it has about 8 or 10 hairpins, half of which are outside in the open and half of which are inside the mountain. It must be quite an adventure riding hairpin bends inside a mountain. So we divert to see that from this year. We haven't done that yet, Gordon, but you and me will be doing it later in the year if we go, or next year. Day 11 is the last main day of riding. We ride from Racine to Munich. And the main thing, back to Munich, and the main thing we do today is we go and see the Motorcycle Museum at the top of Timmelsjoch Pass. This is Timmelsjoch. It's a very steep road that climbs very quickly up the hill. Oh, I love this photo. Can't you just imagine riding that road now, you know, as it sweeps along? This picture really makes me regret not being able to ride my bike at the moment. This is up near the top somewhere, and this is actually the summit of the pass, and right in the center there is the Motorcycle Museum. It's a pretty good motorcycle museum. This is their Cafe Racer section, and as well as having a lot of very good bikes, the building's quite interesting as well. Yeah, and we're there for about an hour. We have a coffee break there, and it's a nice place to stop. This is Walchensee, just on the way back to Munich, another wonderful coloured lake, and it's a great place to stop and photograph your motorcycle against the colour of the lake itself. So the morning of day 12, the tour finishes, and people either fly back home or start their ride back home from Munich. A typical day's timing, you know, what happens on a typical day in terms of time? We tend to finish breakfast by about 8 o'clock because we want to get on the road early. We load our bikes between 8 and 8:15-ish, and then at 8:15 we have a daily ride briefing. What's the weather going to be like? Where are we going? You know, do we need any? Are we going to be on any motorways? You know, the normal stuff that you'd expect on a daily ride briefing. And then we split the day into 4 segments, 4 riding segments, each separated either by coffee or by a lunch. So each riding segment is about an hour and a quarter, hour and a half long. So we do the first, we start at 8:30 and ride until about 10 o'clock and have a coffee break. And then ride segment 2 is up till about lunchtime, 12:30, something like that. And then we have lunch. Then ride segment 3, about an hour and a quarter up till our afternoon coffee break. And then ride segment 4 is about another hour and a quarter before we then check into the hotel at about 5 o'clock and have dinner. Our standard time is 7:45. So it's quite a long day, but that is a total of only about 5.5 hours riding a day. And with the breaks that we take and fuel stops and photo stops, 5.5 hours riding normally takes us all day to ride. The sort of hotels we stay at are, they're mainly 3-star, but on the longer tours, we put in a couple of 4-star hotels for a bit of luxury. We like that. You get a double room, whether or not you're sharing with another rider, you're sharing with your pillion, or if you're even a single rider in your own room, it's always a double room. These are the hotels that we use on the Adriatic Adventure. That's the courtyard of the hotel in Munich. We've had quite a few beers sitting on those sofas in the middle over the years. This is the hotel that we normally use at the top of the Geilberg Saddle. It's a hotel that caters almost exclusively for bikers because it's such a popular biking area. This is the Hotel Marina, the first hotel we stay at on the Adriatic coast, and some people go swimming. This is another 4-star hotel just outside of Split, and lots of people go swimming there. I think last year some people rented a boat and went out on a boat and had a bit of fun on the sea itself. This is Cortona, and right in the middle of this beautiful town is where the hotel is that we now stay at. This is a very old hotel in Florence, the Hotel Liana. It's full of character, and we park our motorcycles out the back in their courtyard. They very graciously let us do that. This is a bit of a more modern hotel in in Venice that we are at for 2 nights. And this is the hotel at the bottom of the pass that we ride for Timmelsjoch Pass. Okay, I'm going to stop there for now. Turn everybody's microphones back on. Just bear with me a second. And then we'll do some questions for now. Just bear with me a second. Right, so has anybody got any questions that they'd like to start off with? Struggling to get the...
Sorry, I've got a question for you. Why do you need in Italy? What are the drivers like?
Hang on a sec, I can't quite hear you. Oh, that's better. Sorry, can you repeat that?
Sorry, Gary.
Yeah.
Just riding in Italy, you see all the Italian drivers driving like maniacs. What's it like?
It's not too bad on the sort of roads that we go on, which are mainly mountain roads and the quieter roads. We don't, you do see the occasional bad bit of driving, but you get that everywhere. It's not too bad. We've never really had anything to worry about. It's where I actually find it much more scary driving in Germany on the Autobahn sometimes, where the roads are de-restricted and they do go blooming fast there.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. So no, it's not too bad.
Not too bad. Okay.
No.
Where is everybody?
Any other questions?
Ponte Vecchio, that's the place.
Ponte Vecchio, well done. Yeah, that's the bridge in Florence, and got some shops on. Yeah, nice place. Have you been to see it?
Yes.
It's great, isn't it?
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Good. Gary. What type of altitudes do you get to?
That one, Grossglockner, I think goes up to about 7,000 feet. Something like that. So it's pretty good. Sometimes we've been there in June on the way to the Hog Rally, and they've cleared the road. But I've ridden along there, and there's been like 20 feet of snow at the side of the road. The road's perfectly dry and fine, but that's quite rare. For this one in the Adriatic, Adventure, we're there in about September, so nearly all the snow's gone. It can get cold up there, not too bad. But it's all right. Yeah.
Any problems with breakdowns, Gary?
Say it again.
Any problems with people breaking down and getting the bike sorted?
Do you know what? I'm not a great mechanic, but most of the time, we can fix stuff at the roadside. There's things happen, and probably 90% of the time we can do something. There's normally, if there's 12 or 13 bikes, there's normally somebody there who's quite mechanically minded, and we can get most things done. The biggest issue we've had is a puncture, and in my tempting fate now, we've had one puncture in the 7 years that we've been doing it, and guess who had that puncture? Yeah, me. It had to be, didn't it? So that's why we always use a back marker. And so what happened, it was at the afternoon tea break, coffee break. So I noticed my front tyre was a bit flat. So the back marker took over, led everybody for the final segment that day. And I just kept on putting air in my tyre and managed to limp to the hotel. And of course, it went completely flat overnight. And luckily, in the hotel barn, there was a paint compressor, which I rigged up to pump my tyre up first thing in the morning. Got enough air in it. Went to a Harley dealer and said, I've got a puncture. I need you to sort this now because I'm a tour leader on a tour. They did it within an hour, and I caught up with the rest of the group by the morning coffee break and carried on.
Right, excellent.
Brilliant.
Very,
Well done.
very lucky.
Gary, how are your tour leaders with the languages over
Sorry, how are we with languages?
You get 2 beers in every country in the world.
Yeah, it depends. I can speak a little bit of French, but not a lot else. To be honest, most of the places we go to, you get away with English all the time. Nearly all the hotels speak English. Most of the restaurants we stop at speak English. And it's quite good fun actually to just try and struggle your way through sometimes to order a coffee or anything. I tell you what, you won't starve and you won't get thirsty. Everybody is there to help you. So, I used to be a bit self-conscious speaking English all the time in foreign countries. I don't care now. It's easy, very easy. Okay, I'm going to. Oh, go on.
The other question I got is, why don't you like churches?
I didn't hear that. You just.
So the other question I've got is why don't you like churches? Is there something we need to know?
He's sixes on his head, that's why.
Yeah. I'll buy you a few beers and tell you why one night. Okay, I'm going to just carry on with the last bit. So I'm going to share the screen again and turn the mics off, and then we'll have a few more general questions at the end. Is that all right?
Yeah.
It's quite a short bit now.
Gets it real, didn't it?
Right, here we go. Right, so hopefully you can all see that again. So, right, so part 3, just some general tour information. I just need to change one thing. Right, okay, good. Right, so obviously these are fully guided tours, and as I said, we have a tour leader and a back marker on all of our tours, and we obviously plan all the routes and we book all the hotels way in advance. But we also plan all of the stops, the photo stops, the fuel stops, the coffee stops, all the lunch stops. They're all planned in advance in detail because in advance because we don't want to risk anything. We want to know where we're stopping, where we're parking, everything we're doing, way before we ever leave for a tour. There's normally about 12 or 13 bikes on a tour, something like that. We don't really like too many more. And of course, because we're nearly always just Harley riders, we're used to riding in staggered formation in a group. We use the buddy system on our tours rather than the drop-off system. We just find it gives a bit more freedom. You can ride at your own pace a bit more. And of course, with the buddy system, all you need to do is make sure that the person behind you has seen where you turn. It's really easy. We don't really just get anybody get lost. I think that's only happened twice in 2 years. And now, of course, with so many good apps on your phone, you can share your location. And so if somebody gets slightly adrift from the group, rather than ride around or something, we just look at our phones and see where you are and we come and find you. It's really easy. If you want, you can have the route in your sat nav. Some people like it, some people don't. We send out a lot of pre-tour information. We have a very comprehensive road book, and I'll show you the contents list for that in a second. We set up a WhatsApp group for each tour so that everybody can get to know each other beforehand, share information, and we, as Tour1, we put a few little explanatory videos in there and put those out on WhatsApp, and it works really well. We'd never shut a WhatsApp group down for a tour, and believe it or not, some of them from years ago are still friends with each other. They still share photos of what they're doing and plan, and they meet up. It's remarkable just how much people become lifelong friends just through riding motorcycles. Well, of course, as you all know. We have a comprehensive ride briefing at the beginning of the tour. We send out suggested packing list on what to take, but just as importantly, not what not to take, because if the tour leader and the back marker are going to have spare oil, tools, all the sort of things that you might need, a few spares, there's no point in you carrying them as well. You might as well keep that space in your saddlebags for more important things for you. Of course, we send out reminders about making sure your bike is serviced beforehand, that you've got enough tread on your tyres, etc. This is the list, just the contents list of the road book that we send out. Some people read every single word of it, and some people never even open it. It's really up to you what you do with it. You don't need to read it, but some people like all of this sort of information. And I've just highlighted section 14 there, some useful road signs. There are some road signs in Europe that we're just not used to in the UK, so we try and teach people about those before you go. Like this one means that you have right of way on the road that you're on. We don't see this in the UK, and you may think that's a bit odd, saying that you have right of way on what appears to be quite a main road. But the real issue is, conversely, if you see this sign, this means you do not have right of way on the road that you're on. And we want people to know that before they go, because this means that even though you appear to be on the main road, you have to give way to vehicles on smaller roads on your right-hand side. So here, for example, is that sign. I deliberately took this picture in some fairly poor weather. So there's a lot of information here, but that's the important sign. And because it's next to the town entry sign, that means that it's called priorité à droite, give way to the right. It means that applies to the whole town. So you could be riding along on what you think is a main road and somebody can pull out in front of you. So that's one of the really unusual signs about riding in, particularly in most of mainland Europe. Here's another one, which is, it doesn't mean crossroads or junction ahead. It also means that, even though there's my bike there, that little light coloured road on the right, a truck, a tractor, or even a bicycle could come out of there, and I've got to give way to it. And the reason they do that is just to slow everybody down, and it really works. If you think that you might have to stop, you do ride a little bit slower without a shadow of a doubt. Where are we? Okay, so I'll ask a few questions to kick off. So what makes for a good tour? I would say comprehensive planning, getting all the details sorted before you leave. Obviously safety, finding great roads like these, finding good photo stops. This is the best place that I've found to photograph Stelvio Pass from, but it's about 100 or so meters away from the road. So we've researched it, and so that's my son actually sitting there in his Harley-Davidson jacket, and so knowing where the best photo stops, because people want memories that they can take pictures to remember the trips themselves. Good quality hotels, obviously. But most of all, what really makes for a good tour is the people that's on it. Good people. The ones that we remember are the ones where the people were really fun and friendly and got on with each other. That's the best thing about it. What's the toughest part of my job? I would say thinking of new places to go. We try and each year introduce a couple of new tours, and finding new places that has all of these great things together is actually quite tough. And one year I tried to devise 4 new tours in 1 year, and it's very, very time consuming to do that, because for every day on the road, it takes me about 2.5 days to actually plan a tour. And you might think, well, how can that be? So it might take a day in the office looking at routes, where we might go, where we might stop for lunch, or etc. Looking at maps, doing research. And then, of course, we go and recce it. So that's another whole day on the road. And then half a day when we get back to write it all up, change the routes, etc. Put it in the sat-nav. So it takes about 2.5 days to plan 1 day on the road. I've been actually finding the roads themselves is relatively easy for me now, because I've done so much riding in Europe. This is the mapping software I use, Basecamp, and as it zooms out, it shows all of the roads that I've either ridden or planned routes on in Europe. And yeah, I've been around a bit. So actually finding the good roads is actually relatively straightforward now. Oh, actually the hardest thing to do always is to find good places for lunch and coffee. You can find places, but you've got to get them in that window of about an hour and a quarter, hour and a half since you last started riding. They've got to be good parking. You've got to be able to probably sit outside, because that's what people want to do. So actually I spend more time researching on Google, trying to find cafes and restaurants. And of course, as we all know, Harley-Davidsons, you can get somewhere from 70 miles to a tank full, up to nearly 300. So we plan each tour, we look at the range of each bikes, and we plan the fuel stops to suit the bikes that are on that tour. Rental bikes are becoming quite tough now. They're becoming very expensive in the USA. They've sort of almost priced themselves out of the market, out of the rental market now there. We used to do a few tours in the US. We don't anymore because of that. And fewer dealers in the UK are doing rentals for overseas visitors for the tours that start in the UK. But most of all, there's a huge amount of detail and admin to get right. If I look over to my office here, this is the sort of view I get. I'm surrounded by charts, flow charts, schedules. We draw all of these things to make sure that we do absolutely everything that we must do. For each tour we have, this is vertically there, that's one tour. That's a flow chart where we just check everything that we've done, everything in the sequence we're meant to do them in. They look like this in quite a lot of detail. And there are about 99, I counted them the other day, there are 99 steps per tour, and some of those steps have 10 or 12 items in. So we can have, say, about 300 things we got to do on each tour. And so admin is not the best part of the job. What is the best part of my job? Well, I ride motorcycles for a living. That's pretty cool, isn't it? My job is to take people on holiday and make them happy. Well, that's a wonderful thing. The really good thing for me is seeing people smile after riding some great roads. You stop for a coffee break and they're just beaming, because they so thoroughly enjoyed what they've just done. Another good part of my job is the company buys my motorbikes. Well, that's pretty cool as well. And those four things make it really worthwhile. Do I enjoy doing this? Yeah, of course I do. Yeah. It was hard in the beginning building up the business, but now most of our tours are full. People tell us that we have a really good reputation. We don't make much money doing this because every pound that we make gets ploughed straight back into the business. And I do it for the love of motorcycling and seeing that smile on people's faces. And just to give you one example of what I mean, on that ladies' tour, the Bubbles and Chocolate tour last year, there was a lady on that who'd been riding for quite a long time and for quite a few years. And we stopped on a bridge to take a photo of the river. And as I got off my bike and walked back and took my helmet off, I could see that she was literally crying her eyes out at the side of the road. I thought, oh my God, what's wrong? And she was crying tears of joy because that feeling when you're riding and you really connect with your bike, you feel at one with your bike and everything you do just flows. Well, she'd just experienced that for the first time and she said, finally, I get it. And that actually made my year. That was the best moment for me last year, just seeing her thoroughly enjoying her motorcycling. How is the virus affecting our touring this year? Well, a lot. We were due to do 9 tours this year. The first 4 have already been postponed until 2021. And thankfully, nearly everybody's agreed that they would rather postpone rather than cancel. So they're all looking forward to, got something that they can look forward to ride next year. And we got the next 4 tours are in July, August, and September, and we're just waiting to see what's going to happen. But if I was, I'm not a gambling man, but if I was, I would be pretty confident that we may not go touring at all this year. So, but it's been challenging this year. But the important thing is everybody is safe who is due to go on our tours. I'm not going to do anything that puts anybody in any danger. I'd rather delay everything, put it all off until next year, as much as that hurts. So what I've done is I've spent this year or the last few weeks trying to find other things to do, like these talks. So that's the end of what I was going to say. Let me just stop sharing this and turn your microphones back on, and we can have a bit more of a question, if there's any more questions. Right, has anybody got any more questions?
Me.
Like, does Gordon make a good tour leader, for example?
No, we know he doesn't.
We've been rides all over with him. We know.
No, he's a great guy to have on a tour. I do like Gordon, and having him as a tour leader is great fun for us.
I've got a question. The back marker, is it one of you guys, or is it somebody who's actually booked to go on?
No, it's one of our guys. And the important thing there is that if something happens to the tour leader, let's say, like I got a puncture, we need somebody to take over the tour.
Cool.
So, or if somebody has a problem with their bike, and we won't leave somebody at the roadside, obviously, so the back marker will stay with them and then catch up, once that bike's sorted out, or what, So, we definitely always need 2 members of staff, on the tour.
Right.
Yeah. I have lots of offers for people to become back markers. Let me tell you that.
I bet.
How much do you manage? As in, do you manage everything? We pay you. Do you manage everything, or do we check out of the hotel and put that on our own credit cards? How much is down to you, and how much do we deal with on a day-to-day basis?
100% is down to me. We pay the hotels. We try and make it as easy as possible for everybody. And let me give you an example. When you check into some hotels in Europe, you have to show your passport. It's a pain in the backside. And that makes checking in really slow. So what we do is we get everybody to send us a scan of their passport, so that when we get to the hotels, we've already filled out any forms. We do that online with them beforehand. We hand over a copy of everybody's passports. We use the Tour1 credit card to guarantee any room charges or beer charges or anything, bar tabs or anything that anybody drinks. And we just trust that you will then pay that in the morning. Because what we want to do, we want you to walk in, we want to hand out the key to you, and you be in your hotel room within about 2 minutes.
Yes.
So that's far better. When we first did it, we didn't think of doing those things, and it sometimes used to take like half an hour to check in, which is no good.
No, somebody who didn't.
No, thank you.
So we're much quicker now. But everything else, we pay for. We include a couple of meals in the overall cost of the tour. So people have to buy the rest of their own food and their drinks, but everything else is included. If we go and visit the museum or things like that, that's included. The walking tour is, because we have a guide, that's all included. We try and do absolutely everything. That's what those 99 steps are for.
No, that's great. Thank you.
Okay, how are we doing for time? Well, that took just a little over an hour, 45 minutes and a few questions. So that's been very good.
It's been really interesting.
Good. Well, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it's told you a little bit more about not just what we do, but what some of the places that are like, and some of the things that you can do if you go on a tour to mainland Europe. Have any of you ridden Grossglockner Pass before?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah, a few times.
It's a great road, and are many of you planning to go to, say, to Tour1 next year?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, hopefully I'll see you there. I'm doing some of these talks not just for chapters, but for some, for some of them are open to the general public as well. The general public. That sounded terrible. To anybody who rides bikes.
Normal people.
Yeah, normal. Yeah, not like us.
Normal.
And the next one I'm doing is on Tuesday next week. If any of you want to tip into that one as well, it's not just for your chapter. It's one that any biker can look at. And that's for tips for riding the Wild Atlantic Way in Ireland. So if any of you want to come on, if any of you want to watch that talk, you're very welcome. If you go to the Eventbrite website, you need to register. So go to the Eventbrite website and just search for talks by Gary France, and then it'll come up and you can just register. They're all free. I just do this for a bit of fun and to keep myself busy and hopefully give everybody an hour or two's entertainment.
Brilliant. Good.
That'll teach you to tell me that you were bored.
Thanks, Gary.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. That's brilliant.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
I'll round off the formalities. Thanks, Gary, for joining us and giving us a Tour1 talk. It's much appreciated. It's great to see you. It's great to hear that you're well and that you're planning still for the future. It's fantastic just to hear a little bit more about what you put into the tours that makes it different. Also, just to give them a few tips about where people might want to go, and what they might want to look at when they're away. So thank you very much for joining us tonight at Red Rose chapter. I think there was at the highest number, I think it was 25 on the call. So I've taken a couple of shots of screenshots of everyone smiling. So I hope you weren't picking your noses when I took the screenshots. But you'll find out quick enough. So cheers, guys, and take care, keep yourself safe, look after everyone, and we'll look forward to riding with you literally as soon as we can.